that we're just about ready, Ike Almo would like to say a few words regarding University House Wallingford and our speaker today.
Thank you, Elliot. Hello, I'm Ike Almo. As many of you know, University House Wallingford has a unique partnership with the University of Washington Retirement Association, the UWRA. This relationship gives our community a distinct academic flavor where residents enjoy a connection to UW programs and a commitment to lifelong learning. As a narrow living community, our residents benefit from the partnerships developed with the University of Washington Schools of Nursing, Social Work, and Pharmacy to deliver innovative programs designed with healthy living in mind. We are pleased today to introduce Dick Carruthers, who has joined us to discuss a timely and important subject, Selling Your Home, a Guide for Seniors. Nice to see you again, Dick. Dick Carruthers of Windermere has been a realtor for over 30 years and has successfully negotiated and closed hundreds of transactions in all kinds of market conditions. Dick has earned a Seniors Real Estate Specialist designation and is on the advisory board of Windermere's Seniors Transition Group. He is passionate about working with seniors and the special people in their lives. Thank you so much for joining us, Dick. Thank you.
All right, Dick, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, can everybody see the slideshow beginning?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great, great. Well, thank you for attending today's webinar. Again, yes, I'm Dick Carruthers. I've been with Windermere Real Estate for over 30 years. And the Senior Real Estate Specialist is a designation that it's a nationwide group of real estate agents whose specialty is working with the senior demographic when it comes to all their real estate needs. We have a lot of education that we go to be able to help folks, perhaps like yourself, who've been in their homes 40, 50 years. And what we've learned over the decades is that there's a lot more to selling a home than just putting a sign out front, especially when you've been residing somewhere for a long period of time. So what I thought I would do is I'm going to share information with you, not only a little bit about our marketplace, but kind of a step-by-step guide in how the market works and getting your home ready for sale. We'll talk a bit about pricing. So please feel free to ask questions if you'd like. Okay, so what's going on in our marketplace today, especially in light of the COVID outbreak? And interesting enough, the COVID outbreak, though it has affected our lives in many ways, has not really affected the real estate market. The cost to borrow money for mortgages is at historic lows, which bodes well for buyers and in turn makes selling your home a much easier process. Prices of homes, they've actually gone up a little bit this year. So again, different from the last recession we had, we're not seeing home values declining at all. As far as personal income goes, yes, there's been a lot of people that have been laid off and whatnot, but our city, due to its tech job situation, hasn't seemed to be affected by the number. There's a lot of buyers out there that have plenty of income and money to buy real estate. And then lastly, with any product, especially in homes, supply and demand. Currently, in each of the neighborhoods, the supply and the demand have not changed much from a year ago this time. So again, you know, we're in a situation that may seem like it's being affected, but when you're out in the trenches, if you will, it's not changed at all. Bear with me here, the slideshow doesn't seem to be moving. Oh, there we go, okay. So when I meet with a lot of people and whatnot, again, and I have conversations with the seniors real estate specialists nationwide, what they do is, as a group, is they are constantly staying in touch with the consumer all over the country, taking polls. And the average age group in the polls that are taken are 72 to 85 years of age. And there's about 700 people that are polled in each of these questioning. So one of the big questions that comes up is, a real estate market looks good, things are positive, but again, a lot of people, perhaps yourselves, there's always fears that are holding one back from making a move. And the number one was just the fear of change. 32% of the people, you know, just when it came time, it was easier just to not do something than to make the change. There's fear of downsizing, all the packing and the sorting. And my experience has taught me that this is one of the most daunting tasks when it comes time to make a move. So if you're fearing that, you're not alone. Then there's the question of, am I going to miss my home? Am I making the right decisions? As far as making the right decisions go, what I have found is that most people have not gathered enough information to be able to make a comfortable right decision for themselves. And then lastly is financial concerns. Only 4% of the group said that financial concerns were, were of importance at all, which I find interesting. Of course, you know, economics around the country are different, but when you have probably taken a tour perhaps at the University House and you look at the budget and whatnot, it's not an inexpensive thing, but again, I think a lot of my clients especially have not found a financial concern when it came right down to it. So the same group was asked, well, what were your top reasons to make a move? Number one was maintaining the house. As we all know, maintaining the home can be costly. Even if you hire it all out, when we look outside or we look at, you know, house cleaning, etc., there's a lot that has to go into it. The next issue was health issues. 34% said that was the deciding factor on why they decided to make a move. And I've had a lot of experience with people, and I can assure you that if you decide to make your move, it's much more calm and easier to do it while you're in control of the whole situation. Where it really starts to feel like you're out of control is if, heaven forbid, something happens, you break a hip, you know, something, and you're told, well, you know, you can't go home because it's just the floor plan of whatnot, it's not working. And that's when people go out and they have to scramble and they make poor decisions for themselves. Downsizing. 10% said their home's too large. And I have a suspicion it's not so much the size of the home, it's thinking about the downsizing that has to go into making the move that is stopping people from doing anything. And the last one was 6% was loneliness. And it's been shown year after year that as human beings, we need interaction with others. If you're, by yourself in the large house, you're not seeing friends or family. Of course, during the COVID situation, it's emphasized more than ever. But it's been proven that you will be healthier if you get into an environment where you can interact with people. Okay, any questions at all? No?
No questions yet.
All right. So what we're going to do is start talking about the actual selling process. And the first thing that a seller would normally do is decide what real estate company or individual do they want to have represent them and be their advocate in the sale. Now, in today's market, or let me back up, years ago, all agents represented the seller. Reason being is that the seller paid the commission. But in today's marketplace, the real estate agent can act in 3 different roles. The first one is as the buyer's agent, is strictly works with the buyer. There's the listing broker, the person that you decide to hire to strictly represent you and be an advocate. And the third part is what's called dual agency. And in our state, we are allowed to practice dual agency, meaning representing both parties in a real estate transaction. I personally don't practice dual agency because in reality, I haven't seen how one person can really represent both parties equally and share all the information, even though some of the information, should be privileged. But I bring this up because if you are concerned about somebody representing both parties and you're interviewing them, you may want to ask them right up front, do I practice dual agency and what does that mean? For others, if you're comfortable with it, I mean, that's fine too. All right. When we go out into the marketplace, we oftentimes use services of professionals. We purchase things with warranties, etc. And I happen to offer some guarantees, which I think are really a component of where is there a little bit of weakness in the real estate community. The first one is communication and activity report. For you guys to make a prudent, smart decision when it comes time to enter into a contract with a buyer, you should not have any doubts or, you need to hear from your realtor in a very timely manner about what's truly going on with the marketing and the feedback about your house. Oftentimes, I've heard people talking to friends, asking how the home sale's going, and many times it comes up that they might have, interacted very quickly with their agent up front, but as a couple of weeks went by, the contact became less and less. And I don't think that's going to bode well for you to be the best seller you can be. I also offer what's called a quick cancel guarantee. And when you sign a listing agreement with a real estate agent to market your home, it's for a period of time. Now, during that time, occasionally something can come up with your own personal situation, whether it's a illness in the family, some other things of that nature, and it's just not the right time to be selling the home. Well, my belief is that then we discuss it a little bit, and getting out of the contract with the real estate agent, we just sign a cancellation form and you're free to move on and until the time's right. The reason I bring up this is that there's a number of other people in the real estate community who would like to perhaps give you a, not a cancellation, but they take your home off the market, or they take your home off the market. There's various forms that we use. But if, for instance, you decided to sell it to your son-in-law or son or whatnot, they would be due a commission within the next 6 months. Again, my belief, if things aren't working out, then we part ways, and it makes it very easy and simple. I also realize that you're going to incur some costs when it comes to getting ready to sell your home. And so I, as a thank you, offer for folks that attend my seminars and webinars, $1,000 senior discount, and that $1,000 is credited to you at the closing of the sale. I've been talking a bit about communication because, again, it's so critical in a real estate transaction. And what I've created is a questionnaire, and it's 4 or 5 pages long, and it's designed to help identify your wants and needs, because it's very important going in that if you, that your real estate agent be on the same page as you are. If you have siblings, adult children, you have partners, or anybody that you're going to rely on to help give you guidance and help you make decisions, what I recommend is that each of the decision makers fill out one of these questionnaires separately and then compare notes. I have found that most people are on the same page, but occasionally they're not, and it's a much better process when everybody knows going in what the expectations are. So a couple of the questions on the questionnaire, one that I think is very important is, do you have a financial advisor who can help you determine whether you can afford the community of your choice? Because many of you may know, maybe not, that you've been out searching, you're looking at different communities, trying out their food, those type of things. And once you get excited about the community, or you get a phone call that you're number 1 on the waiting list, that's when it's a little late to then try to start figuring out, wow, can I actually afford to do what I want to do? Can I sell my house for what I think it's worth to get the equity out? The next one that I find interesting is there's a question: assume it's 6 months from now and describe the perfect situation for yourselves. And again, it's rare, but I met a couple here a number of months ago, and in looking at that, she was looking forward to not having to cook, the house cleaning, a number of those items. She was ready to have more freedom to do other things that she wanted to accomplish and enjoy. And so I looked over at his questionnaire, and he basically said, well, he's looking forward to going out to his shop when the weather gets a little better, and continue working on this little kayak he's building. So I looked and I said, wow, sir, it doesn't look like you want to move. And he actually said, well, no, I really don't. She wants to. So we laughed a bit and whatnot. And so I got back in touch with them a few months later, and they finally did decide to move. But again, it's a little late once you're under contract. All of a sudden, the truth comes out that someone doesn't want to move. All right, let's talk about some steps in preparing your home for sale. All right. Sometimes how we live in our homes and how we sell our homes for top dollar can be two different things. When buyers are out looking to buy a home, they make their buying decisions based on emotion. And then they justify that decision with logical, rational criteria. So it's a very emotional time obviously, for both parties. So as a seller, you need to keep in mind that when your home goes on the market, it's going to be viewed through different sets of eyes. The first set of eyes, of course, will be the buyer, who that's why the internet presence, professional photography, all of those type of things are critical that be performed in our marketplace. So we think about how the buyers see your home. Same with how the real estate agents look at your home. Now, real estate agents not only are visual people as well, but they're kind of looking at, well, how's the asking price? How is the thing stacked up compared to other homes in the neighborhood? Then there's the home inspector, who at some point, in most cases, will come out and inspect the nuts and bolts of the house. And lastly, if the buyer's getting a mortgage, a bank appraiser will come out and look to make sure that there's value there and that the home doesn't need a lot of things done to it. All right. So what does that entail as far as getting ready to make your move? Well, I call it a pre-market consultation. And how that works is we get together at your home. We go walk around the outside, look at the aesthetics, look at, does the roof need work? Is the siding okay? We look at all of those components as well as, the landscaping and whatnot. And then suggestions are made. And if the suggestions are made that way, then we need to find out, well, what would something cost and what is the return on your investment? Same with the inside of the house. We go in, we look at it and decide, well, do things need, what needs to be done? Then we attach a price to it, and then we come up with a game plan. So let's talk a little bit about what I call the staging your home and downsizing. During this process, you'll want to start selecting what you're going to keep, what's going to be packed and go with you, what's going to be given to charities, what's going to be given to children, and then the stuff that's left. So we look at the interior of the home, and if you're going to live in your home while selling, then we need to pay a particular attention to how the rooms feel. In other words, if you have a large dining room hutch, for example, that you might have inherited, and it's covering the entire dining room window, well, we need to consider where can that be relocated to. Sometimes storage, setting up interim storage is appropriate. Every home is basically case by case. We also need to look at your home as, is the space something that a buyer can look at and make their own? That often gets into taking down galleries, perhaps, of personal pictures that you may have, and kind of making it a little more of a generic environment so that the buyer can start visualizing themselves. Likewise, when it comes to staging, again, there's two different types of staging. There's one where you just clean the house, you do your downsizing, and you call it good. The other is if you're moving first, sometimes people, I get asked, should we have professional staging companies come out and stage our home? Sometimes it's appropriate. Other times, again, the market's good enough to where you don't have to do it. And it's not inexpensive. It's roughly $600 a room plus a monthly charge. So it's quite an investment. So is it an automatic thing you do? I think it's a case by case thing, and it's hard to give exact guidance until actually seeing your house. I think a couple factors again, when thinking about downsizing, probably the number one thing that most people go through is psychological, and really letting go of their stuff. I have visited with people who start trying to downsize on their own. They pack a few boxes, set them in a bedroom. You may visit again 4 months, 3 months later, and the boxes are still in the room. They haven't been closed yet, because what we tend to do is start looking in the boxes and go down memory lane, which is all well and good, but at some point there's no progress made. The other side of it is the physical aspect. If you're trying to save a little money, going up and cleaning your own gutters, putting out ladders to get up into the attics to pull out things you probably haven't seen for years. And accidents can occur. And there's really, at this stage, there's no glamour in trying to do some things that we're just not physically able to do. So how do we get out of this procrastination component? Well, first thing is who will help us with the downsizing and sorting and all that entails. Well, we naturally, if you have family members, the mindset tends to go to family. And what I have observed is that family has great intentions, and but a lot of people have busy lives, and if they have kids involved, etc., it's even more busy. So what can tend to happen is the decisions made, families coming over on a Saturday morning and going to help you start downsizing. What happens is that, again, great intentions, but what's going to really take you days to make happen is all trying to be crammed into one day. And the stress level continues to rise throughout the day because you're being asked to make decisions in minutes on things that it may take you hours to make a decision on. Again, my goal is to share with you what others have gone through so that prepared to not have surprises. So in today's marketplace, there are packing and sorting companies. They're also called move management companies. And these are small companies who will come over to your home. They charge per hour, and they'll literally help you through the entire moving process, from identifying the items you're going to take, to the donations, to setting piles in places for family members or whatnot to come and get. And they're really worth their weight in gold. They're about $65 an hour, which I know can sound expensive, but the flip side is when the moving company comes over, the movers are 125-ish an hour. So they're really worth their weight in gold, and they will go at your pace. Their job is to interact smoothly with you, but again, keep you going straight down the road, because we all have a tendency to veer off into the bumpers on the side of the road. Secondly, there's estate sale companies. And the estate sale companies, they make their living by taking a percentage of what is sold at an estate sale. So it's important if you're beginning the process before you start throwing away things and whatnot, to if it looks like you have enough items to sell, then we have an estate sale person come by, take a quick look at the home, and make a decision whether it's something they want to take on, because they do have pretty high minimums, and the mint and china you may have, the silverware, a lot of those particular items, they don't sell any longer at estate sales. I mean, if you have some very high-end antiques and whatnot, well, there's a little different marketplace for that. But the items such as the china and what, younger people going to these estate sales, they don't want the stuff. There's a lot of family members who don't want the stuff. And what they're doing is they're melting down the sterling the silverware. And, but what they are buying, and this is where you don't start throwing away things, is a lot of memorabilia, mid-century modern furniture, memorabilia from the 50s, 60s, and into the 70s. Again, I don't know if a lot of you remember back in the day, they had little dispensers that dispensed candy called Pez. And what you do is you go up to the top of the little Pez guy, you pop on his head, and up it would pop up, and out came some candy. Well, believe it or not, collections of Pez dispensers are worth thousands of dollars. So you need to know that going in, because it's a real shock when people are informing you that what you and I may hold dear and of value is of no value. Charities, they're getting harder and harder to donate to, becoming much more picky. And again, you're still then having to deal with, trucks, lifting, etc. And then lastly, there are clean-out companies or disposal companies who will, once everything else is moved and whatnot, who will then come out and take away whatever is left. They have certain connections that they can donate to, and then at the end of the day, whatever has to go to landfill does, but that's not really what they prefer to do. Any questions on that? All right. I mentioned home inspections. We talked about the realtor coming out to the house, kind of going around, kind of inspecting it a little bit, looking at it. And the home inspection is normally conducted by the buyer at the buyer's expense. There's also a school of thought that sellers are now asking, well, should I do my own inspections? And then I know exactly what I'm dealing with. In our state, we have what's called the Washington State Disclosure Form. And it's a 6-page form that you as a seller fill out to the best of your knowledge, what you know or don't know about your house. If you do the inspections, then you will have to disclose everything that has come up. But if you want to do the inspections and try to fix everything, you have that option as well. So you have the home inspection, which is looking at the mechanics of your home, the furnace, electrical panels, is your wiring grounded, all of those type of things, and then they list out everything that they found. The next one is called a sewer line inspection. And what they do is it's a separate entity, and they will come out and they run a camera down through your sewer line to the street, and then provide a little video of it. And oftentimes they'll provide some popcorn with it, so you can sit and look at the scoping of a sewer line. Of the two, the sewer line is the one component that we, unless you know you have a problem, we have no way of knowing if there's going to be a problem or not. So of the two, you said, well, I'd like to do one, but maybe not both. It would be the sewer line inspection. They're about $225. And then you'll see exactly what you have. Because of all the things to have to fix on a house, the sewer lines can be the priciest, and you really don't get the option if you are informed that your sewer line's broken. You don't really get the option of just ignoring it and dumping raw sewage, though it's underground and whatnot. So that would be my recommendation. So the question is, do you go through all the effort and perhaps expenses to fix up your home, or do you sell it as is? Majority of sellers sell the home as is. Now, as is 30 years ago was quite a bit different, that language, than it is today. You and your buyer can agree to a contract where you're not going to fix some things. The buyer's fine with it because, you know, they're excited. They were going to probably fix up a few things anyway. But if there's a lender, a banker involved, they will send an appraiser out to your home, as I mentioned, not only to make sure it's of value, but if they see that, you know, you may have the old fuses sitting on your back porch, they still exist, or you come out and there's the roof, you know, is totally covered in moss and really needs to be replaced. They may bring that up as a condition of lending money to your buyer. And if that's the case, you're not in a position to say, well, we agreed to an as is, because if the buyer can't get their mortgage, then we don't have a contract. If any major structural issues come up, we need to look at it, get some costs, and they may need to be addressed, but I can't speculate what that may or may not include. Then when we go and try to set the asking price for your home, the asking price must reflect a little bit of the work needed. In other words, if you have two identical homes 3 doors down away from each other, one needs all of this stuff and one doesn't. But the one that doesn't is going to be able to ask a little bit higher asking price. So let's talk a little bit about pricing your home and how we accomplish that. The first thing we want to make sure is that you're acutely aware of the timing of how long it took homes to sell and close in your particular marketplace. And why I think that's very important, at knowing this right up front, is that oftentimes if you're on a wait list, you've put down a little bit of deposit, you get the call, a unit's available. Well, you want the unit, so you're now given a timeline on when your monies are all due and you're able to move in. Well, if the timeline's 30 days, just throwing out that number, but it's taken 60 days for your marketplace for homes to sell, well, we need to know that right up front, especially if you need the equity from the sale of your home. And if that's the case, we need to look at the asking price much more closely. The next part of helping you price your home is the real estate agent puts together what's called a market analysis. It's similar to an appraisal from a bank, but not quite, because as a realtor, we tend to be able to get inside all the homes, generally, in a given area that have sold. So we kind of know the nuances of how they felt, how they were presented, that type of thing. The appraisers from the banks, they don't get inside the homes. the only home they get inside is yours that they're appraising. But nonetheless, we put together what the activity's been, what has sold, the goal being within a 10 or 12 block radius of your home. It may well be that you have a unique property that we have to go outside your area, but there's always a way to extrapolate, put the information together, and help you decide what your price range is. We look at all that and then look at your situation, and that's when you're able to decide what asking price should be. Now, again, it is your home. You're able to set an asking price that you want, but it really should be using educated information, because if you miss the marketplace, and as you see by this graph, you're going to get the greatest number of people in your home in the first week to 3 weeks. If you miss the market, it can get very expensive trying to start lowering your asking price and chasing the market backwards. So that's how the analysis would look. And again, I'm happy to give you perform an analysis on your home if you'd like. It's complimentary. And I think it's good information. So lastly is, what does it cost to sell a home? And everything is based on a schedule. In other words, based on the sales price of your house. So if you're just penciling numbers, the easiest way to do it at this point is to take 8.4% of what you think your home would sell for, and that's generally the entire costs of selling. That includes your title insurance, your commission, your other escrow inspections, those type of things. That's all inclusive, the 8.4%. And then again, when you look at the analysis, it can actually then detail out the exact costs based on your situation. All right, well, that's the presentation. And if you have any questions, feel free to speak up.
Can you hear me?
Tina?
This is Kathy Kirk.
Oh, hi, Kathy, how are you?
Hi, I didn't know if I was supposed to ask questions this way or on the chat thing, but.
No, this is just fine. This is perfect, actually.
Okay. I'll even give you my picture so you know who I'm talking to. Okay, hello.
Hi.
I wanted to go back a little bit to the fix versus as is.
Yes.
That'll be a question that we'll face. We have a 40-year-old condo that,
Okay.
So we're not looking at structural things because the condominium association does
Exactly.
most of that. So I'm thinking of more cosmetic things. We've got an older carpet, the countertops in the kitchen. What's your take on how much time and effort a seller might want to put into upgrading those kinds of things?
Sure.
Versus saying this is the way it is and put it on the market with the old carpet and the old countertops.
Yes. Because it's a condominium, and if any of you others have a condominium, yeah, we need to pay a little closer attention to that, because switching out carpet, flooring, again, I don't know your kitchen and whatnot, but some of those painting, some of those cosmetic things, they have a payback to them if you do that. Okay, going in, and again, depends on where your condominium is, but going in and gutting kitchens and bathrooms, one, it's very time consuming. I mean, you watch HGTV some of those real estate shows, and they show these homes being done in 3 weeks at budgets that in Seattle don't exist.
Yeah.
You just can't, you don't, it takes months and it's twice as expensive.
We did the bathroom about 7 or 8 years ago, so firsthand experience with having contractors in. And
Yeah, it's not done in a week.
to avoid
So yes.
I want you to say, yeah, just walk out and sell it as it is. But
Sure. So in a condominium, yes, it would be something to look at. I mean, and then make a decision. And then, of course, if you are switching out various aesthetic items, need to keep in mind that your personal tastes need to be a little more drawn back, because you'd be doing it with selling in mind as opposed to just staying put.
does it affect the selling price if the seller is actually just moved out of the property permanently, and then have somebody come in and do the carpets and all of that work, and not
Well,
live with
yeah,
the
that would, I just had a condominium that we sold. They moved out and they did the same thing. They put in new carpet. They happened to put in a kind of a laminate flooring in the kitchen, and they did some painting, and it helped. It helped in other words, the cost of doing it was probably they doubled
Oh,
their profit on that.
okay.
Again, between single family homes and condominiums, there's more buyers saying, yeah, I'll go ahead and kind of buy a home that needs fixing up. The condominium buyers tend to, they'll do the fixing, but they'll tend to be, less money and less time to be able to do this stuff. So anything you can do to boost that along, and then again, a lot of that goes to what's selling in your condominium building, and what was the condition of those units compared, and you use the square footage. It's a real good indicator too of,
So it's not a big disadvantage to be selling an empty.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
Actually, selling an empty home, it's done all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not critical to have to bring stagers and start spending a lot of money.
Okay.
Again,
That's kind of where I was getting. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah,
I appreciate your presentation.
thank you.
Dick, there's another question, and that is, how do you facilitate when you have multiple offers, and how does that work?
Okay. When the decision's been made to decide to wait a period of time to encourage perhaps multiple offers on your property, the first thing is that you need to, in setting the asking price, make sure that you're somewhat competitive with what else has been going on. That's saying that if you're asking hundreds of thousands more than the home's worth, well, the buyers will know that, and you won't get multiple offers. But to ensure that you'll get the most money possible, what happens is that when you go on the market, it's published to the brokers that offers, if any, that are written be delivered to the listing agent. And about the maximum amount of time you can hold off looking at offers is about 6 days. And what that does is give various buyers an opportunity, if it's a type of property that's attracting a lot of interest, it gives them a chance to, one, see the house. Secondly, they may do pre-inspections of their own to see if they want to continue forward, with a contract. And then it's monitored, on my end. I would monitor each one. You get the phone calls. Then, again, in the language, offers of any to be delivered to the listing agent. 6 days, let's say a Monday at 10 a.m. So the buyers and the agents all know what's occurring, and they know that they need to put their best foot forward right from the get-go if they write offers. Then the offers get delivered to the listing agent. You have to do your I do the due diligence to, if they're getting a bank loan, talk to the lender, make sure they're qualified to do what they want to do. It's an all cash sale. We ask for proof of funds. In other words, from their brokerage account or whatnot. They have to prove that they actually do have the cash and aren't relying on a contingent source of funds. I lay out, so you have 5 offers. I lay it all out in a matrix, highlighting the different features of the offer. And at some point, it starts coming down to 1 or 2 that look to be better than the others. There's a document called an escalation clause document where the buyers will come in, they'll say, I'll offer you this price, but I will, as an example, pay $5,000 more than any other offer, up to a maximum cap. So that's where you get sometimes you see the home selling for over asking price, is because the buyers all said, I'll go to this, this, and this, and everything being equal, always tends to be one offer that starts standing out. And we talk about it, and then go from there. You do need to be ready to make a timely, and by timely I mean within a day reply to one of those buyers, because they've been waiting 6 days, and you're creating this environment where if they get put off too long, they'll lose interest, and we may lose a good buyer. So about 6 days has been my experience. A couple weeks is way too long, and a couple days is too short. Doesn't give people time to, even though some might be off work at the moment, to get over to the house, because the showing of a home, the protocol is different under the COVID rules. We only have one party in the house at any one time. So, but that's how the multiple offer situation unfolds. There's guarantees that it goes way above asking, but again, if it seems like it's an appropriate approach. I had a home in Magnolia that was listed that went 100,000 over asking last week, and we had 10 offers. Well, it happened, to be in a good location, and the price was one that drew all sorts of buyers. Just the top of the price range, but more the bottom. And by the time everything gets going, the seller did well.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Mr. Carruthers. We greatly appreciate your time and the information you provided in this presentation. Are there any other questions anyone would like to ask? Remember, you can type in your question using the chat feature.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming out, and always happy to help. Don't be shy. Feel free to contact me, and I'll do what I can to help you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carruthers. Now remember, we will email a copy of the slides to everyone, along with the speaker's contact information. We'll also include a survey sheet that we'd like you to fill out and tell us about your experience on the Zoom event today. And we'd love to hear from you. We're interested in hearing your comments to make this experience even better in the future.
Dick, on behalf of Elliot and myself and everyone here at University House Wallingford, thank you for joining us today, and have a good rest of your day and stay healthy.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye.